I'm 31, and I live just outside of Denver. A few weeks ago, I had to drive home late at night after a grueling business trip. It was around midnight, and I'd been on the road for hours. My eyes were heavy, my body aching from sitting for so long. The highway was almost deserted, with only the occasional car speeding by. Eventually, exhaustion got the better of me, and I decided to pull into a rest stop to stretch my legs and wake myself up. The parking lot was eerily quiet. A single streetlight flickered, casting long, distorted shadows across the pavement. There were only 2 cars parked there, mine and an old, beat-up minivan sitting at the far end of the lot. It looked abandoned at first, but something about it felt off. I got out of my car, shivering in the cold night air. The silence was heavy, like the world had paused around me. I stretched and yawned, trying to shake off the uneasiness creeping up my spine. That's when I heard it, a faint, muffled sound. At first, I thought it was just the wind rustling through the nearby trees. But then it grew louder. It sounded like crying. I froze, glancing around the empty lot. The sound was coming from the direction of the minivan. I told myself to ignore it, to get back in my car and drive away. But something about the crying pulled me in. It was soft yet desperate, like a child in distress. Against every instinct screaming at me to leave, I started walking toward the minivan. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if some invisible force was urging me to turn back. The crying grew clearer, sharper, cutting through the cold night air. When I reached the van, I peered through the back window. My heart sank. There was a child inside, maybe 6 or 7 years old, banging on the glass. His face was streaked with tears, and he looked terrified. I hesitated, my mind racing. Where were his parents? Why was he alone? My gut told me something wasn't right, but I couldn't just leave him there. I reached for the door handle, and to my surprise, it was unlocked. I opened the door cautiously, leaning in just enough to ask, "Hey, are you okay? Where are your parents?" The child didn't answer. He just stared past me, his wide, tear-filled eyes fixed on something behind me. A chill ran down my spine. Before I could turn around, I heard a deep, gravelly voice. "You shouldn't have done that." I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat. Standing there was a man, tall and broad-shouldered, with a hood pulled over his face. In his hand was a crowbar, its metal glinting under the flickering streetlight. Pure panic set in, and I bolted toward my car. My heart was pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. I could hear his footsteps behind me, heavy and fast. As I reached my car, my hands fumbled with the keys. My fingers were trembling so much I almost dropped them. Just as I got the door unlocked and threw myself inside, he slammed the crowbar against my window. The sound was deafening, and for a split second, I thought the glass would shatter. He raised the crowbar again, yelling something I couldn't make out. I scrambled to start the engine, my entire body shaking. The moment the car roared to life, I slammed my foot on the gas. The tires screeched as I sped out of the lot, my headlights cutting through the darkness. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing there, the crowbar hanging at his side, watching me disappear into the night. Once I was a safe distance away, I grabbed my phone and called the police, barely able to get the words out. I told them everything. The crying child, the man with the crowbar, the minivan. They assured me they would send someone to check the rest stop immediately. Later that night, an officer called me back. They found the minivan, but it was empty. No sign of the man or the child. The officer then told me something that made my stomach churn. The minivan matched the description of a vehicle connected to multiple disappearances along the highway. Women traveling alone had been lured in by the sound of a crying child, only to be attacked and never seen again. I was the first one who had managed to get away. I couldn't stop thinking about the child. Was he real? Or was he just part of the trap? I'll never know. But that night changed me forever. I still drive that route occasionally, but I refuse to stop, no matter how tired I am. I don't care if I'm running on fumes or about to fall asleep at the wheel. I'll never pull into a rest stop again. Some nights, when I'm lying in bed, I replay it all in my head. The sound of the crowbar against my window, the man's gravelly voice, the child's terrified face. It's all burned into my memory. And the scariest part, he's still out there, waiting for his next victim. My name's Michael. I'm 34 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon. A few months ago, I had to drive out of state for a work conference. It was a 6-hour drive, and since I'd left later than planned, it was already dark when I hit the road. The rain hadn't stopped since noon, making the drive feel even longer. I've always hated driving at night, especially in bad weather. About halfway through my trip, I saw him. A man standing on the side of the road, drenched and shivering, holding out his thumb. His clothes were soaked through, and he looked miserable. Normally, I would have driven right past him. I've never been the kind of person to pick up hitchhikers. It just feels too risky. But something about him made me hesitate. He didn't look threatening. He was thin, maybe in his late 40s, with a pale face and a defeated expression. The rain was pouring so hard I could barely see him as I slowed down. Against my better judgment, I pulled over. As soon as I rolled down the window, he leaned in and stammered, thank you so much. My car broke down a few miles back. I just need a ride to the next town." I hesitated, my instincts screaming at me to drive away, but the desperation in his voice made me feel guilty. I unlocked the passenger door, and he climbed in, dripping water all over the seat. "Thank you," he said again, shivering as he buckled his seatbelt. "I've been out there for hours." "No problem," I replied, forcing a smile. "Where are you headed?" He mentioned a small town about 20 minutes up the road. As we started driving, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling creeping over me. Something about him didn't sit right. At first, he made small talk, where I was headed, what I did for work, but his answers about himself were vague. He said his car had broken down, but when I asked what kind of car he drove, he paused for a moment too long before answering. A sit-in. He didn't mention a make or model. The conversation died after that. The only sounds were the rain pounding on the roof and the windshield wipers scraping back and forth. I glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. He was staring straight ahead, his hands resting stiffly on his lap. His wet clothes clung to his body, and his breathing sounded uneven. The uneasy feeling grew stronger. I couldn't pinpoint why, but something was off. About 10 minutes later, we passed a gas station. "I'm going to stop here real quick," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. He immediately tensed. "Why? Just keep driving. The town isn't far." I forced a laugh. "I need to fill up, and I could use some coffee. It'll only take a minute." "No," he said sharply. "I don't want to stop." That's when the alarm bells in my head started screaming. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, and my heart began to race. "I'll just be a second," I said firmly, pulling into the gas station despite his protest. As I parked, he leaned toward me. His voice dropped, and he said, "You're making a mistake." I froze. The way he said it sent chills down my spine. I couldn't tell if it was a threat or a warning. "I'll be right back," I muttered, trying to sound casual. I grabbed my wallet and stepped out of the car, my legs shaking. The gas station clerk, a young guy who looked barely out of high school, greeted me as I walked in. I forced a smile and whispered, "I think the guy in my car is dangerous. Can you call the police?" The clerk's eyes widened, but he nodded and quickly disappeared into the back room. I pretended to browse the snack aisle, keeping an eye on my car. The man was still sitting there, but now he was watching me. His eyes followed my every move, and I felt trapped under his gaze. A few minutes later, 2 police cars pulled into the lot, their lights flashing. As soon as the man saw them, he threw open the passenger door and bolted into the ring. The officers chased after him, and within minutes, they had him in handcuffs. One of them came over to talk to me while the other searched the man. "Are you okay?" the officer asked. "Yeah," I stammered, still shaking. He said his car broke down, but something about him didn't feel right. The officer nodded grimly. "Good instincts. He's been on our radar for a while. He's wanted for the murder of 2 drivers who picked him up on this highway. You're lucky you stopped here." I felt my stomach drop. The man I'd let into my car, who I'd driven for miles, had killed people in my exact situation. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, wondering what would have happened if I hadn't stopped at the gas station. Now, every time I see someone hitchhiking, I feel a pang of guilt. But I reminded myself of that night. No matter how desperate someone looks, I'll never pick up a hitchhiker again. My name is Alex Carter. I'm 28 years old and live in the suburbs of Chicago. I've always been cautious by nature, never the kind of guy to take unnecessary risks. But that night, my judgment failed me. That night, I learned that some roads are better left unexplored. I was driving home after visiting an old friend I hadn't seen in years. The reunion was nice, but it had run later than I'd planned. By the time I got on the road, it was nearing 1 a.m., and I still had over an hour to go. I was exhausted, just trying to stay awake. The route was mostly rural, with long stretches of dark, empty roads. My GPS chimed, instructing me to take a left turn onto a dirt road. I hesitated. The road looked narrow, surrounded by thick woods, and there weren't any streetlights. I considered ignoring it and sticking to the main highway, but I was too tired to argue with the GPS. I turned, my tires crunching against the gravel. As I drove, the road seemed to stretch endlessly into the dark. My headlights illuminated nothing but trees and dirt. No signs, no landmarks, just isolation. I started to feel uneasy. I'd always heard stories about people going missing on roads like this, but I told myself to stop overthinking. That's when I saw it. A car was parked on the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking weakly. Standing next to it was a man, waving his arms like he was trying to flag me down. My heart rate spiked. He looked desperate, pacing back and forth. I slowed down, unsure of what to do. As I got closer, I noticed the man's clothes were dirty, like he'd been out here for a while. He ran up to my window, yelling something I couldn't hear over the engine. I rolled it down slightly, just enough to catch his words. "Please, my wife's hurt. She's in the car. I need help." His voice cracked, full of panic. Every instinct told me to drive away. Something felt off. But then I thought, what if he's telling the truth? I didn't want to leave someone stranded if they were in real trouble. Reluctantly, I put the car in park and stepped out. "Where is she?" I asked, my voice shaky. "In the back seat," he said, pointing to the car. I approached cautiously, my eyes scanning the vehicle. The back seat was empty. "Where is she?" I repeated, turning back to him. That's when I noticed his hands. They were trembling, not with fear, but with some kind of suppressed energy, like he was holding back from doing something. Before I could process it, I heard movement behind me. A second man emerged from the woods, holding a crowbar. His face was shadowed, but his intent was clear. Adrenaline kicked in. I bolted back to my car, not even thinking, just running. I heard them shouting behind me, their footsteps pounding against the dirt. I barely managed to fling the door open and slam it shut before the first man reached me. I locked the doors and floored it. Gravel sprayed from my tires as I sped away, the men shrinking in my rearview mirror. My heart was racing so fast, I thought it might explode. After what felt like forever, I saw the glow of a gas station up ahead. I pulled in, shaking, and ran inside to tell the clerk what had happened. He listened quietly, his expression darkening as I described the dirt road. "That road doesn't lead anywhere," he said. "It's a dead end." I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what would have happened if I hadn't run. Now, I don't trust GPS blindly anymore. Some roads aren't shortcuts. They're traps.
I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me, and I swear it's all true. I don't really like talking about it because it still messes with my head. But here we go. I'm just some guy, okay? Work a boring job. Nothing special. Let's just call me, Jake. Yeah, Jake works. I'm not much of a storyteller, but this thing's been eating at me, so I gotta get it out. This whole thing went down about a year ago, and I still can't figure it out. It was super late, like 3 a.m. late. I'd been over at my cousin's place a couple towns over, just hanging out, playing video games till way too late. You know how it is. We were deep into some old school racing game, and I lost track of time. I was driving home, half asleep, just trying to keep my eyes open. My car's old, rattles a bit, and I was blasting some random podcast about aliens or whatever to stay awake. Oh, and I forgot to fill up the tank before I left. Dumb move, I know. Anyway, I'm on the interstate, right? Middle of nowhere, no cars around. The road was dead quiet, just the hum of my engine and the occasional whoosh of a passing truck. I was zoning out, thinking about how I'd have to wake up early for work the next day. Then my GPS pipes up, rerouting to avoid traffic. I'm like, traffic? At 3 a.m.? What's this thing smoking? But I don't question it too much because I'm tired, and it's been right before. So, it tells me to take this exit onto some dirt road I've never even noticed. I shrug and turn off. The second I hit that road, it's rough. Like, really rough. The transition was jarring. 1 second, smooth asphalt. The next, my teeth were rattling from the bumps. I slowed down, but it didn't help much. My car's bouncing all over, and I'm muttering to myself, this better not mess up my tires. It's dark as hell out there, headlights barely cutting through it. The air felt different here, thicker somehow, like it was pressing in on me. I cracked the window, but all I got was the smell of damp earth and something metallic. I start seeing these creepy old barns, all falling apart, and rusted farm stuff just sitting there. No lights anywhere, not a single house. It's weird, you know? Quiet in a way that doesn't feel right. So I keep going, maybe 20 minutes, and I check my phone. No signal. Nada. I'm thinking, okay, that's annoying. But the GPS is still talking, calm as ever. Continue straight for 47 miles. I blink at it. 47 miles? On this dirt road? No way that's right. I laugh a little, nervous-like, and say out loud, you serious right now? The road starts getting tighter. Trees are everywhere, branches scraping my car. Screech, screech. And it's loud enough to make me jump. I'm gripping the wheel, starting to feel off. Not scared yet, just unsettled. I try to find a spot to turn around, but it's too narrow. Every time I think I see a wider bit, the GPS yells, "Recalculating," and points me right back down the same road. I'm like, come on man, let me out of here. Then, I see them. Cameras. These weird little cameras stuck on telephone poles, all aimed down at the road. At me. At first I thought they were just reflectors or something, but then I saw the lenses. They were small, black, and definitely cameras. One of them had a tiny red light blinking like it was recording. My chest gets tight. Who the hell puts cameras out here? There's nothing to watch. I mutter, this ain't right, this ain't right. And I glance at my fuel gauge, almost empty. My brain's screaming, You're screwed, dude. 'Cause I can't even remember the last gas station. I'm freaking out now, okay? Heart's going a million miles an hour. I finally spot a wider patch and start turning the car around. That's when my headlights hit this sign. Big, metal, rusted at the edges. It says, "Private property, authorized vehicles only, deadly force authorized." Deadly force? Like guns? My mind raced. Who puts a sign like that in the middle of nowhere? Was this some kind of military area or a cult compound? I didn't want to find out. I freeze for a second, just staring at it. Then I slam the car into reverse and peel out, dirt flying everywhere. The GPS keeps going. Recalculating, like it's mad at me. I don't stop till I'm back on the interstate, shaking like a leaf. I didn't stop shaking until I saw the lights of a 24-hour diner. I pulled in, ordered a coffee I didn't drink, just to be around people. My podcast was still playing, some guy rambling about UFOs, and it felt so stupid compared to what just happened. Oh, and my sister's old flip-flops were in the back seat. Random, I know, but I kept kicking them while I drove, annoyed they were even there. Here's the kicker, though. For months after that, months, every time I used my GPS, it'd try to send me back to that road. Didn't matter where I was going. I'd be headed to the store, and it's like, turn left in 5 miles to Creepy Dirt Road. I chucked that phone eventually, and got a new one. Still don't know what was down there. Cameras, that sign. Who does that? I never told my cousin about it. He'd probably laugh, say I was being paranoid. But I know what I saw, and I'm not taking that road again, GPS or no GPS. I gotta tell you about something weird that happened to me. It's been eating at me for a while now. I'm nobody special, okay? Just some dude who stacks boxes at a warehouse all day. Anyway, this was like, I don't know, maybe 6 months back. I was at my friend's house, just kicking back, watching some stupid movie. Think it was about killer clowns or something. I'd popped a sleeping pill earlier because I've been sleeping like crap lately. Totally forgot I had to drive home. Dumb move, I know. So, I'm on the road, right? And halfway home, I start feeling heavy. Like my eyelids are fighting to stay up. I'm not an idiot. I know I can't drive like that. So I pull over, just off the highway, to nap for a bit. Figured I'd wake up fresh in like 20 minutes. But, when I open my eyes, it's been 4 hours. And I'm not on the side of the road anymore. My car's parked in this random driveway, engine still humming. I swear I turned it off before I passed out. Then I noticed the mud. My tires are caked in it, and the bottom of my car looks like I drove through a swamp. I check myself, and my jeans are filthy. Got these little scratches on my arms too. No clue how that happened. This house I'm at, it's big, kinda old, and every light's blazing inside. I see shadows moving around like people pacing or something. I'm freaking out a little, so I get out and stumble to the door. Knock a couple times. Nothing. I can hear voices inside, low, muffled, but nobody comes. It's like they're pretending I'm not there. I'm standing there feeling dumb when this guy pops out from the house next door. He's got this creepy smirk, like he knows something I don't. He goes, "Back for more, huh?" I'm like, "Well, what? What are you talking about?" He just chuckles, shakes his head and walks off. My heart's pounding now. Back for more what? I've never been here in my life. At least, I don't think so. I jump back in my car and peel out of there, driving home way too fast. My hands are shaking the whole way. When I finally crash into bed, I just want to forget it. But next morning, oh man. I go to check my car, and there's a shovel in the trunk. Not mine. I don't even own one. It's got fresh dirt all over it, like someone just dug a hole. I'm losing it now. Then I grab my phone. Bunch of missed calls from numbers I don't know. There's a voicemail too. I play it, and it's just crying. No words, just this awful sobbing. I nearly dropped the phone. Creepiest thing I've ever heard. After that, I said no more sleeping pills. Couldn't risk that again. But, it's not over. Some mornings, I wake up and there's dirt under my nails. No idea how it gets there. I live in this old apartment, right? The windows rattle when the wind's bad, and it freaks me out every time now. Makes me think something's trying to get in. I keep wondering what I did in those 4 hours I can't remember. Did I don't know, hurt someone? Dig something up? I try not to think about it, but it's always there, in the back of my head. Oh, random thing. My neighbor's got this yappy little dog that barks at nothing all night. Used to just annoy me, but now it makes me jumpy as hell. Every sound does. Anyway, that's the story. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was sleepwalking or something crazy, but the shovel? The crying? That's not normal. It's messed up, man. I don't know. This thing happened to me a while ago, and I still don't like thinking about it. I'm just some dude, you know? Work a boring job, drive an old beat-up car. Let's call me, I don't know, Jake. Yeah, Jake's fine. I don't usually tell people this stuff, but it's been eating at me. It was late, like way past midnight, and I just wanted to get home. I'd been at my cousin's place, playing video games and eating too many chips. Left around 1 a.m. I was driving down this empty highway, yawning like crazy. My eyes were heavy, and I had to pee so bad it hurt. I remembered this 24-hour rest stop up ahead. Figured I'd stop there, use the bathroom, grab a coffee. Maybe one of those little snack cakes if they had any. I pulled in, and right away, it felt quiet. Too quiet. There were a couple trucks parked, but no one around. Just the hum of the lights and the wind. I parked close to the door and went inside. The place smelled like old fries and cleaning stuff. I hit the bathroom first. Man, the tiles were sticky, like someone spilled soda and never mopped it up. Anyway, I came out feeling better and went to get coffee. The pot was on, steaming, but the counter was empty. No clerk. The register was open though, with cash just sitting there. Weird, right? And there was this sandwich on the counter, half eaten, like someone took a bite and bolted. "Hey, anybody here?" I called out. My voice sounded small. No answer. Just this faint radio static from somewhere. I looked around, and that's when I saw the security cameras. All 3 of them, pointing straight down at the floor. Not the door, not the counter, the floor. Who does that? My hands got all sweaty holding the coffee cup. I didn't like it. Then I smelled it. Bleach. Super strong. Like someone dumped a whole bottle in the back room. It hit me hard, made my nose sting. I thought maybe the clerk was cleaning or something, but I don't know. It didn't feel right. And then, God, this still freaks me out. I heard it. This quiet, muffled crying, like someone trying not to be heard. It was coming from the back, behind that bleach smell. I froze. Should I check it out? What if someone's hurt? But then I was like, nah, this ain't my problem. It's late, I'm tired, and this place is creeping me out. I decided to leave, threw some money on the counter, probably too much, but whatever, and headed for the door. My shoes squeaked on the floor, loud in the silence. When I got to my car, I saw it. A note under my windshield wiper. I didn't see anyone put it there. My heart started thumping. I grabbed it, hands shaking, and opened it. It said in this messy scribble, "You weren't supposed to see that. Drive straight home. Don't stop. Don't look back." What the heck? See what? The sandwich, the cameras, the crying. I looked around. Nothing. Just dark trees and those parked trucks. I jumped in my car, locked the doors fast, started it up, and as I pulled out, I couldn't help it. I checked the rearview mirror. That's when I saw them. Figures, maybe 3, coming out of the woods behind the rest stop. They were dragging something. Big, heavy shapes. Looked like body bags. I swear, My chest got tight, like I couldn't breathe. I floored it, tires screeching, and didn't stop till I got home. I sat in my driveway forever, just gripping the wheel. Thought about calling the cops right then, but I was like, what do I even say? I saw some spooky stuff. Sounded dumb. Plus, my dog was barking like crazy when I walked in. Guess I forgot to feed him before I left. Anyway, I didn't sleep that night. Kept hearing that crying in my head, smelling that bleach. Next day, I called the police. Told them everything. The guy on the phone sounded like he didn't care at first, but then he goes, "That rest stop? Been shut down for months. Health code stuff. Owner's been missing since then too." I just sat there, phone in my hand, feeling sick. Missing? Closed? Then what was I in? I still dream about it. The empty store, that note, those figures. Sometimes I wake up and swear I smell bleach on my pillow. And the crying, it's like it's stuck in my ears. I don't drive that road anymore. Can't. Every time I pass a rest stop, I keep my eyes straight ahead. I don't want to know what I saw, or what saw me.
Carlos had spent the whole day in the city for work. He was exhausted, and all he wanted was to get home, take a shower, and sleep. The mountain road he always took was solitary and dark, but he knew it well. The car's clock showed 1:37 a.m. when the fog started to thicken. It seemed to move unnaturally, swirling along the road, forming fleeting figures that disappeared into nothingness. That was when he saw her. By the side of the road, briefly illuminated by the headlights, stood a woman in a dirty white dress, motionless. She didn't make any sign, nor did she try to stop him. She was just there, her head slightly tilted. Carlos felt a jolt of discomfort. Something about her didn't feel right. His instinct screamed at him not to look, to just keep driving. But as he passed by her, she slowly turned her head and whispered his name. Carlos. The sound was sharp, like she was inside the car with him. His heart hammered against his chest. She shouldn't know his name. He gripped the wheel, accelerated, and forced himself not to look in the rearview mirror. But a cold sensation crawled down his spine. Something wasn't right. Fearfully, he shifted his eyes to the rearview mirror. She was there, sitting in the back seat. Carlos felt his blood drain from his face. He couldn't see her face clearly, only a silhouette in the tattered dress. His breathing became erratic. He tried not to lose control of the car. She wasn't there. It had to be his imagination. But then, in the dimness of the mirror, she smiled. Her lips stretched too much, more than a human mouth could. And then, slowly, she tilted her head until her face was completely upside down. "You shouldn't have looked at me." The car's radio exploded in static. Carlos screamed and slammed the brakes. The car skidded and veered off the road. It hit a tree, and Carlos's head slammed against the steering wheel. Everything went dark. When he woke up, the car was wrecked. The fog was thicker, and the road felt endless. There was no trace of the woman, or at least that's what he thought, until he looked in the rearview mirror one last time. There she was, smiling, closer and closer. David had been searching for a cheap car to get around without relying on public transportation. Finally, he found one, an old but functional model, sold by a man in a nearby town. The price was surprisingly low, too low. When he arrived at the address, the seller, an elderly man with a tired face, greeted him with a strange expression. "Don't use it at night," he said, handing him the keys with a trembling hand. "And never open the trunk." David thought the man was just an old fool. He paid, signed the papers, and left. It didn't take long for him to regret it. From the moment he started the engine, something didn't feel right. The car had a musty smell, a mix of dampness and rot. He turned on the radio to distract himself, but there was only static. The road was dark and deserted. David yawned and kept his hands firmly on the wheel. The sound was dull, like someone had knocked inside the trunk. David tensed. The sound repeated louder. He looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing unusual. The knocks grew more persistent, as if something was trapped inside. David swallowed. He wasn't going to stop. But then, something scratched the metal from the inside. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He adjusted the rearview mirror to see the back of the car more clearly. The reflection showed the empty back seat. But when he looked down at the internal rearview mirror, his blood froze. There was someone there. A dark figure with sallow skin and hollow eyes, staring at him. David whipped his head around. Nothing. He looked back at the rearview mirror. The figure was closer. The knocks on the trunk were frantic. The radio exploded in deafening static, and amidst the noise, a voice whispered, "Let me out, David." David screamed and slammed on the gas. But then, something cold touched his shoulder. The car suddenly turned off in the middle of the road. Breathing heavily, he took out his phone. No signal. The voice returned. "You can't escape from me." His heart pounding, he got out of the car and circled around it. He stood in front of the trunk. He shouldn't open it, but he did. The lid creaked open, and horror struck him head-on. Inside the trunk was a body, his own body, with wide open eyes, frozen in an expression of terror. The mouth twisted in a silent scream. David felt the world crumble around him. Something pushed him from behind. The trunk slammed shut, and on the dark road, the car's lights flickered on, and it began to move on its own. Inside, trapped in the trunk, David pounded and scratched the metal in desperation, just like the last owner before him. Tomas had left his house late for a long trip. He was driving on an empty road when he noticed the gas tank was on reserve. The GPS had no signal. There were no stations marked on the map. But then, a gas station appeared at the side of the road. The fluorescent lights flickered and the old rusty sign read, "Gas station, the last stop." Tomas parked and got out. The place felt wrong. The air was thick, too quiet. Inside the store, there were shelves with expired products and a dusty counter. A thin, hunched old man stared at him from behind the register. "Good evening," Tomas said. The old man tilted his head with a stiff gesture. "You're the first one to pass through here in years." A chill ran down Tomas's spine. Behind the counter, on the wall, there was a list of names written with chalk. And at the end was his name, Tomas Gomez. His mouth went dry. "Ow, it's happened before," whispered the old man. The lights flickered. When they came back on, the old man was much closer. Too close. Tomas stepped back, tripping over a shelf. He looked toward the door. His car was gone. The road had vanished. There was only an immense, dark nothingness. Tomas gasped, ran to the door, and went outside. The cold seeped into his bones. The desert had disappeared. Only the gas station remained. And the old man was already outside, watching him. "Don't worry," he whispered. "Everyone tries to leave." Tomas looked around desperately. On the ground, where his car had been, there was something else. A pile of bones bleached by time. Among them, a rusted phone with still a working battery. A notification on the screen. A message sent 10 years ago. "If you find this, don't enter the gas station. Run. Don't look back. Because if you see the list of names, you can't leave." Tomas shuddered. His eyes returned to the old man. "It's your turn," he said with a rotten smile. The wind howled. The lights of the gas station went out forever. When the road appeared again, Tomas was no longer there. Only his name remained on the wall, waiting for the next one.